Hello and welcome to another good old episode of Eye on Icon today with your hosts, David and Fez, who fancies himself a wingman, but is actually the main man. Fez, welcome and tell us how you're doing.
I'm good, man. Your wingman's doing great here. I'm just happy to
Excellent.
be recording again.
Yeah, yeah. Today we've got an episode, the first one of 2024. Um, got a lot to cover in the world of Icon. I think we're going to recap what happened in 2023, celebrate a bunch of success in terms of development and progress, and then look at 2024 because it started with a bang. Big forum posts, lots of like proposed elements and aspects to mull over and for the community to digest and form opinions on, really. So we'll cover some of those as well. And right now, I guess we'll hop right in with our first part, which is just going to talk about what happened in 2023, Fez.
The year 2023, from a development standpoint, right, has been huge for Icon. I think there are two ways to look at this. You got development, and then you got, let's say, user acquisition or adoption. But like just zoning in on a development standpoint, we've broken these shackles of we haven't been shipping and things like that. This year we shipped IBC, and we adopted IBC, wrote it in Java, and we're one of the only second team to actually have done this outside of the IBC ecosystem. The first one being composable finance that did it for the Polkadot ecosystem around token transfer services. So we're the second team. We've got it on mainnet. We've got a product alive on top of it, working using our messaging standard, which is huge. So I'm quite pleased and happy, and it's great to see that we've got that traction. And just David, leading on from there, we've deployed on Archway, Neutron, Injective. While only Archway has a working balance deployed on it, working, utilizing xCall, the integrations on the other chains are live. Now, in the IBC ecosystem, it's when chains connect to other IBC chains, it's not a big deal. Why? Because at its core, that's how they're built, and it's just a matter of opening up a channel and they're connected. For us, every chain integration at the moment is a bit of a big deal because we have to pick the chain and then deploy our contracts. And then there's a bit of back and forth. Like Injective was unique. It has half a second block times. It was very different to the core chain. So it takes work. It's not a simple, hey, now we can just open channels and we're connected to all of IBC, unfortunately. But still, we've delivered. So IBC is check off the list. BTP now. I shake in the background, David, when I hear BTP because we all know
Why is
everyone's
that?
holding out.
Why is that?
Everyone believes it's the savior. I think, if I'm being very factual, David, BTP was 2-3 years a flagship product. Obviously, development time took its toll on it, but we did get the messaging standard out of it, and we were able to abstract that messaging standard and kind of look at 2023 and push it out into other interoperable protocols. And we've got it working over IBC. We have it now over BTP and soon Layer 0 Wormhole. These last pieces are in the final pipeline of testing to get them out to mainnet. But back to BTP. BTP, the goal was we wanted to get it out. Like when BTP, it's like tired of hearing it. Let's get it out. We got it out in December. There hasn't been a formal announcement. I can see people have been very excited about an announcement. There hasn't been, mainly because testing, etc. But it is live. It is live, stable. In fact, as of a week ago, all the extra updates that we're planning, part of what we got to mainnet and did testing and realized, well, we could improve this, we could improve that. We've tested all those on testnet and deployed those to mainnet as well. So BTP is live on Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. And the best part about that is it's not about BTP, it's about xCall. Thanks to these deployments, now we have the xCall contracts on these two chains. They're using BTP, obviously, to receive and send messages. But now we are connected to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and the IBC chains that I just talked through as well. So that's pretty big. That's out the door. Great. We had another cool highlight, a CPS. CPS got a few updates. The effectiveness of CPS is one thing, but these updates are great because it's moved to a milestone-based system. So now it's not about submitting a report and getting your funding paid month by month. It is about actually delivering to the milestone to get your funding based on the deliverable. So that was cool to see. What happened I covered, David?
You've covered IBC, BTP, xCall, CPS. So these are all, this is all progress in 2023. I like with CPS that if you get voted in, to deliver a product, and then if you don't deliver the product, you don't get the pay. I feel like that is very reasonable. And of course, on chain, you have to go through a couple of rounds of contract updates and governance to get it instated. But it's great that that has actually happened as well there at the end. Because it was January 2023, so a year ago, when the xCall strategy was announced, how we were going to bring value to ICX through xCall, which gave us wings to not just sit around and rely on B2P to do that for us, but being able to reach outwards. And I think if you go now to icon.community/integrations, you can see what's been achieved there within the year, and the fact that there's an app balanced in this case, using the tech for its cross-chain use case. That's number one within that same year. I think that's something to be proud of, and it instills trust in 2024 moving forward. See what we can do with another year. So yeah, that's great. I don't know if you have anything other to add. Do you want to talk about HANA, the icon/cross-chain wallet?
Yes, that's also been making a ton of inroads in 2023. We got multi-chain support across Chrome. Well, the migration happened. We got launched on Android and Apple. You got multi-chain support on the extension and the app. So, and a lot of people, I have conversations and people don't realize it. So you've got your one C phrase now, and if you use HANA, you basically can use it across Cosmos, EVM, and there's another integration in the pipeline coming, but it's that one wallet, and you can go use dapps across all these ecosystems. It's actually quite good. The swap function, you can do just swaps within HANA itself, and some of it uses balance, some of it uses change now. I actually move a bit of assets, David, from ICX to Ethereum to Avalanche. I use, if I just want to do a quick dirty swap, I'll just use HANA. It saves me connecting to this exchange, moving that there. I can just do it in the wallet. Seamless, works every time. Love it. So ledger integration. What else? I can't even think, but the HANA team's been shipping. We're working really closely with the HANA team to try and make the product usable outside the Icon ecosystem. And I think we're there, and it's at that point where if you're an Icon user and you haven't, start dabbling in it. Just go and activate the chains and start playing with it. It's great.
Yeah, you could use it for all the chains that you like to use. Bringing the amount of extensions in the top right corner of your Chrome browser back to one, which is great if you like to hop.
Yeah,
I
agree. And that final point, the teams are working closely, right? So you got Balanced that is using xCall expanded on Archway. You will find if you use HANA and say you haven't dabbled into the Cosmos ecosystem, by just activating the Archway chain and using Balanced and HANA, it's much easier than using another wallet and HANA. Why? Because it's one wallet and that's all you have to deal with. So it's definitely being optimized for that user experience if you're using HANA over other wallets when dealing with balance in this example.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's 2023. That's wrapped up, and we're currently looking at 2024. And a big question could be okay, we're on the mission to bring the value to ICX. It happens through layer one trading fees on the Icon blockchain that get burned. Not a lot. The idea is that the interoperability aspect will generate a lot more fees, initially through BTP, later through xCall, which can run over several interoperability protocols. That's currently up and running. It's getting more and more connections. I've read comments about people saying you could connect and connect and connect, but what if no one is using it? And I think that that is a very valid point, because you
Mhm.
need, you generate interoperability fees from usage. So you could connect
Yeah,
to a million chains. If no one uses the tech,
pointless.
there's no fees, there's no value coming back to the ICX holder or to the
Mm.
ecosystem for that matter. So, yeah, what to do there? What do you think?
So, like, we've been saying this for a while, right? We need a flagship application. Until today, we haven't had a product out there. There's divided camps. BTP was a product. Well, no, for the last year, xCall has been front and center. We finally have it out there on mainnet, not on testnets, and someone can go look, and by the time they look and explore it, they're like, we're ready to launch. It's not on mainnet. You lose interest. It's
Mhm.
on mainnet. The next thing we need is, okay, it's on mainnet. How could we use this? What are some examples we can look at? Oh, there are none. Oh, god damn it. No, well, that's what we need, right? So this is front and center. What the strategy we're trying to get on board is to have a bit more of a granular focus. Going, okay, now that we have a product, we need it's a back end product. We need something front end built on top, showing how it's used. And I've referred to this before. When Layer Zero launched, they just launched and they had a product on top, Stargate, that launched as it was in fact launched as a demo app, David. Like, oh, here's a demonstration, and it just
Yeah.
blew up, right?
Yeah.
People were like, whoa, this is cool. This actually, people were able to see what potential the Layer Zero product offered applications if they build on top of it, right? And this is kind of what we need to do, which in turn will bring value to ICX, because as we're talking about what the 2024 strategy is, and this tagline is bring value to ICX. It's as simple as that, because we got the layer one fees. There's not a lot of activity. It's been declining. Let's face facts here. We're not doing this content to sugarcoat stuff. We're decreasing activity. Our flagship products have taken a lot longer. We've gotten that in line. We're shipping now, and we need a showcase DApp. The showcase DApp it's not for the same user base in theory. Like the showcase app, thanks to now the interoperable connections, is to showcase it to other users. We already in
Yeah.
Icon know what the product is. We know it's a cool product. We know the potential. We
Yeah.
want to go out there and show it. So this is kind of where the strategy has been granular. What if we have a flagship app? The proposal being balanced. How can we incentivize things to be more aligned so that we can bootstrap balanced as it expands into ecosystems? And as it expands, that itself will help us onboard new users, because if people are using it, they're going to see. Like, David, I did a Thor swap. I think I told you this once. I had one of the devs on the phone. We were testing it out. The swap never arrived. I started panicking, and then we noticed a timer. It was going to take an hour and a half before I got my asset.
Right.
I was like, oh, I didn't realize this. Now the new me, after many rugs, has
Yeah.
been like, yeah, cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Now it will arrive.
It
The old
happens.
me would have panicked and pulled my hair out. Exactly. So if you use xCall, and especially the Archway implementation, 30 seconds. We're talking native to native on each chain. Like, it's brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
so super excited about the strategy here, because we got layer one fees. I know I've ranted on here, but let me talk through the three definite, one of them proposed, but the other two definite value propositions for Icon. Layer one transactions, any transaction is generating a layer one transaction when balance is used at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
When we go cross-chain, so for Archway, it's also an xCall transaction. Now, I tweeted about this, David. xCall transactions, depending on chains and different aspects, it's kind of like a transaction on steroids. Okay, so if you've got 0.01 ICX fee taken, an xCall fee could be 0.25 ICX. So it's really amplified. And each transaction, depending on what's going on, if you're sending it from Icon to Archway or Archway to Icon, is taking that xCall fee in the native asset. So xCall itself is generating revenue, whether it be in ICX or any other chain it's connected to its native asset.
Yeah.
And that revenue is there to either ICX is getting burnt, we're going to burn it, no one's going to use it. In fact, we'll have the wallets there for people to see how much is accruing.
Yeah.
And in the background, we're building infrastructure to make this stuff more visual, because we need that, right? We've been talking about the burn, but I think if you see it, people will be like, "Oh, cool! This tally's building. It's going to burn." But
Yeah.
backtracking. So in this case, these are the two definite value propositions that are available right now to the Icon network. And we are talking Icon network. I'm not putting balanced perspective on it. The proposed, where we're more aligned, balanced flagship dApp is then using, obviously, under the proposal, its fees, the fees generated by balance, to add the third mechanic that
Yeah.
basically burns ICX.
And
I'll pause there.
yeah, I want to inject, because the concept of having a flagship dApp that uses your tech, we've literally seen how important that is. We've been off to talk about xCall and pitch xCall, collect feedback on xCall, have apps participate in incentivized testnets with xCall across conferences in. We've been to Paris, Korea, Blockchain Week, walking around the Cosmoverse in Istanbul, talking to all these different like apps, app chains, and lots of people, explaining what xCall is and why it brings values to apps who want to go cross chain. You can explain that an app can write their cross chain logic once and continue to reuse that logic, whether they want to use IBC, BTP, or possibly in the future their own version of a centralized bridge or layer zero.
Mm,
It gives you as an app the freedom to move around cross chain without having to rewrite or re-architect your logic every single time, because that's what xCall can do for you. And that's one of the many benefits. But you
mm,
can talk about this endlessly and people will love it when they hear it. But what works better than a flagship app, an application where you can say, just go to this website, look at
mm.
this product. It's doing this across all these chains. It's connecting, it's expanding rapidly because it can, thanks to the architecture, thanks
Yeah.
to xCall. And what it's like the best testimonial you can get is an app that's using your product, and then more will follow. xCall can be used in any cross-chain use case. It doesn't have to be DeFi,
Yeah.
but it makes a lot of sense for it to be DeFi. I just did a quick check on DeFi Llama to see what gets traded in DeFi every 24 hours worldwide. And I know that there's big players out there, and you're not just going to gobble up their market share, but we are talking $3.5 billion every 24 hours that's getting traded. And if you can, you know, get a part of that market share, then you're in business. So I
Mm.
think as a flagship, for a flagship app to be, let's say your first flagship app to be a DeFi product like Balance makes sense and would be a wonderful tool in getting the word of xCall out there and getting people to consider adopting it for their apps when they want to go cross chain.
Agree. And to close this off, I just wanted to highlight, does this mean we're no longer a layer one chain? No. That's the beauty of the strategy in terms of being very focused. Balance becomes a flagship. It expands, it grows a user base. We're still a layer one chain. Opportunity comes, people can start building on top of complementing their products. Maybe they want to use a hub and spoke model, maybe they want to do whatever it may be. But if we can execute quickly and effectively with one product that has potential to reach out to many chains, and people can use it and go, hey, this is cool, makes sense, and it gets adoption, then all of a sudden the other parts open up and the chain isn't closed. Like, people can then start building and doing what they want. Whereas at the moment, we need to create that, and that's what the strategy is all about. So it's focus, one product. Let's strategize, let's throw our money at it, let's do everything we can, that it will create this opportunity. We know it
Yeah,
can, and it will. Yeah.
yeah. I guess that brings us to the next point that we want to talk about today, which is the Icon forum post that went up last week. A similar post went up on the Balanced forum. See, Balance can be a flagship product for Icon, for xCall, by itself,
Hmm.
or we could follow the proposed changes that are outlined in the forum, and the community is like discussing, you know, what's being proposed. And I guess we could just walk through the proposal a bit, like highlight certain
Yep.
aspects and kind of see how it would accelerate growth, how it's meant to, you know, make this a shorter journey to success.
Yep.
So I'm not sure where to start on it. I guess the proposal, it's about positioning xCall and Balanced as the flagship product that you would want,
Mm.
um, and partially, you know, getting the Icon network involved with the app at an app
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. And so I think a few pieces for additional context, right? A lot of conversations between the Balance team and the Icon Foundation, which slash network. Okay. We know Balance is a great product. Balance has had a few unfortunate circumstances, happens across all of DeFi, quite frankly. And, you know, we got passionate people working on the protocol, but you can't work on something if it's for free. Like people got to get paid to eat, and you know that like a lot of stuff that the work needs to happen needs to be full time resources dedicated. So balance itself is in a bit of a pickle post impacts it's had. There's conversations going, well, what can we do to get balance what it needs, which is liquidity, resourcing, everything else to make it successful. And also from Icon side, the network side, it's like, okay, what products do we have that we can really get behind and push its development, push everything and get it out there, right? So these are kind of your two forces that were happening in the background conversations to go, okay, well, how can we mash them to make it a one kind of force that benefits everyone? And this is where what the proposal is about. That's why you've got it from two sides, from the Icon Network side and from the Balance side. And to highlight, it is a proposal, right? The idea is a lot of work and conversations have gone on in the background to see if there was a viability. Yeah, the next step is floating it and gathering feedback, and that's what has been happening. Scott's been a machine in the Balance Discord. Like, I don't even interfere, David. Like, it's
Mhm,
like
mhm.
let him handle it. He's really good at it. But that's the point. Like, this is what we're thinking. Network. It is for the Icon network, and should we move forward with this? This is the ideas around it, and yeah. So it's to gauge sentiment, and then obviously based on feedback and things like that, the plan probably will definitely get revised. Like every bit of feedback and people who are taking the time to talk, you know, not just lose the plot and start going off, actually give constructive feedback. It's actually all being taken on board. So just these are the things I want to keep at the forefront, just in
Yeah,
case, because
yeah,
I have seen some sentiment was, oh, it's already been decided. No, 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 not been decided. But a bit of legwork has been done to make sure we're not just putting up a random piece of information to
yeah,
go,
yeah. It's a
yeah,
well researched proposal,
yes,
and then
yes.
you get to discuss, and then you can get like well balanced feedback,
Mm,
which you can then, I don't know,
I see what you did
take
there.
on board.
Balanced food back.
Thank you very much. I've been
Yeah.
having a lot of fun with that recently. Um, yeah. So yeah, from an icon perspective, or icon holders, because so we're talking about this forum post, and if you haven't like heard anything about it yet, you can go to icon forum.icon.community. That's where the forum is. That's where this proposal is being dropped. It's up top because it's obviously getting the most engagement, and you can read all about this uh, proposed merger of the Balanced the Balanced application or platform, and the Icon network. So how can these two entities kind of get enshrined with each other and work together to make a couple of things happen? And from an Iconist perspective, one of the most interesting things would be the adding another mechanism that brings value to the ICX holder, which is the revenue of the app that could be used to buy back and burn ICX. So now you're looking at the L1 fees that we burn. We're looking at xCall transactions uh, that we burn, and we're looking at revenue that's generated inside the app that we burn. which is a lot more than, a year ago when we just had the L1 fees.
Mm,
So in that sense, it's a very interesting proposal. I think it's a good way of thinking, and I can see how the community could get behind that. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's this implied buyout of the current, community that is involved with balance, that holds the balanced token um, at a certain rate. I think there is a buyout price set, at a premium of the current ICX to balanced ratio.
mm,
um yeah, is that enough? Is this even something balance holders want? Like, this is what people are discussing in the forums right now. The discussion is happening in the balanced discord, icon discord. Yeah, so it's a big piece.
mm.
It's currently floating out there, and for us, what we could do is look at it and maybe highlight some of its aspects to take away
Yeah.
maybe some misconceptions or explain some of the concepts, because there's a lot happening there. And yeah, I think the first one that I wanted to highlight is the concept of the network owned liquidity that's being floated in the proposal. Um, there is a proposal to increase ICX inflation,
Mhm.
but to grab the like 85% of that inflation and use it for network owned liquidity. Now, why is that proposed? Could you kind of like talk to that?
Yep. So important to call out here, David, as well. Proposal, and there's some numbers there based on. I think from memory, it was increasing it from 4 to 7% proposed, just to give people that picture of wherever we move it, this is kind of how where the money would go or the ICX would go. Okay, so one of the key points is network owned liquidity. So CPS gets the same, stakers get the same. Then there's this much bigger bucket that is going towards essentially getting swapped for another asset. Its value is being swapped to whatever we decide, like whatever the network decides. And this is a key thing, right? Like, it is not you, me, or anyone else. It's the network deciding, going, yep, we've got balance. We're, say, strategizing to launch on Ethereum, want to have an primary asset, BNB, and whatever various chains. We've got this allocation that we can then swap, or it can be used to acquire users. Remember the old Karma Finance days, how OM and balance tokens were used? We could use similar concepts where we have users come in, give us their ETH, get a small discount where they can arb it, and the network starts acquiring these assets.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
that's the core goal here. So the network owns, we swap value for like. We own another asset, the network, the network deposits this liquidity into balance, which is then used for cross-chain swaps. And part of this feature is native swap. So, imagine there'll be some further upgrades in the balance pipeline, but you got ICX, move it to Ethereum. You got Ethereum natively on ETH. No need to worry about gas. Off you go. You do whatever you want on ETH as the network expands. So this is what the network liquidity is there for. It's acquiring that liquidity. The network always owns this liquidity. It is, yes, there's high inflation. Yes, all that exists, but that liquidity is owned by the network. And on any given moment, if we want, it can be swapped back to buy ICX and burn that
Yeah.
inflation.
Yeah.
Right. And these are some crucial points to remember, that network owns the liquidity. It's not going to users. It's like for like value. And there's other things that we can work through. Like if we acquire $500,000 worth of ETH and then ETH 5x's in price, the network owns that value, and the network can then decide what we want to do with the excess value. Keep it in there generating revenue, or
Yeah.
increase buybacks. So there's so many options here, but bringing it back, that's what network owned liquidity is all about. It is using this excess bucket to acquire other assets to put in balance and earn revenue.
Yeah, and to rewind this for people who are not as well versed in, the DEX landscape and why would you want that? When a DEX has deep liquidity pools, meaning that there is a lot of certain tokens in these liquidity buckets, it enables bigger trades without the price slipping into a certain direction. So instead of me being able to swap out 100 of something, I might be able to swap 1,000, 10,000, or 100,000 of something
Mm,
at the same price without so-called slippage. And when you have a DEX that facilitates these bigger trades, it's going to pull in bigger traders because they will always be looking for the DEX where they can trade, without too much price slippage. So deep liquidity is desirable. So it kind of works two ways in this proposed mechanism where the Icon network provides balanced with this deep liquidity such that more traders can come in, they can trade more, they can trade bigger. And at the same time, because the Icon network provides this liquidity, it's the Icon network that is earning off of those trading
mm,
fees and can use that to burn ICX or bring value to the ICX holder in another way. So that's kind of the concept. And I think another misconception is that all that inflation would then have to be earned back through increased trading fees
mm.
and some calculations about how that's impossible. And I guess what you're saying, and I saw another example in the forums, there's a lot of examples in the forums of how this would work, is the point is that is not the case because you could put the network owned liquidity into the DEX for a year. It could generate fees for a year. And at the end of the year, you take it and you burn it. That
Mm.
way, it's never touched circulating supply, but it has been able to earn the platform revenue for over a year.
Yeah.
So that, it's like a no cure, no pay concept. And it's being proposed as the Icon network tweaking its inflation numbers up, but using it like this in the
Mm.
balanced platform. So that's the network owned liquidity aspect of the forum post. Is there anything else you would like to add to that, Fez, before we hop on to the last proposal highlight?
No, I think you covered that as well very well.
Yeah.
Let's move.
The
Move.
there's a lot more in the post, and again, we encourage everyone to go and read it. But one other highlight that we wanted to just talk about is the concept of a balanced savings rate. So this um, sounds like a lot of fun. I know that Fez thinks it's a lot of fun, and I know that he loves talking to it. Just a one-liner from my end. It would be a savings rate for BNUSD. This is the stablecoin of the Balance platform, the Icon Network stablecoin. The
Mm.
idea being that users would be rewarded to lock it up, similar to like savings in traditional finance, where you would maybe put in a deposit, lock it up for 6, 12 months, and get an interest rate. I think that's the concept that's being introduced here.
Mhm.
And why, Fez? Why?
So with stable coins, we have this thing, the peg. Oh, the peg. So essentially, if there's demand, if the peg is broken and say it's going the other way, lower, dropping, there's less demand for it, right? So this is why it drops. So the savings rate is a great way of giving the user. The savings rate basically makes balance very similar, on par with MakerDAO. Okay, the DAI stablecoin now has a savings rate, right, and you earn 5 or 8%, etc. If you basically stake DAI and you get SDAI. So the balanced savings rate is the same thing, where user can mint the stablecoin. Remember, it's an over collateralized stablecoin, majority backed by ICX. That'll change, but at the moment, you take the BNUSD and go, hey, uh, I want to earn yield on this rather than going and doing all this degen activity. I can just stake it on balance itself, like a savings account, and what will I earn? It'll tell you APR. At the moment, there's 2 million balance tokens. The proposal at the moment put forward, if half of that or the entire amount, I can't remember, basically stakes it, they'll earn 10%, a 10% interest rate, basically. This locks up a ton of the supply. Well, basically all the supply if that happened, right? In my example.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as this starts to happen, the peg just restores itself because suddenly there's a lot of demand. But what's really cool about this particular integration and why it's important to have this savings rate is we know Lydia Labs have launched a product called High Yield on Avalanche. In the background, we've been heavily building certain integrations like the central relay so that we can collaborate between balanced and a high yield. This savings rate product that Balance will soon ship will actually be integrated with high yield, where you can take your real world asset, your bonds. A user can take it. A user can go to the stability fund and go, hey, my asset is earning 5%. I can swap this and get $100. My $100 worth of treasury bonds is earning 5%. I can go to the stability fund, deposit it, get $100 worth of BNUSD, stake the $100 worth of BNUSD. I'm earning 8%. I'm earning, more than what my treasury bond would be earning.
Yeah.
And then when they need to return the treasury bond or whatnot, they do the exact swap in reverse. But what's really cool about that is we've got a real world asset integration on another chain, so opening up all these users. But in the background, it's actually the treasury bond, while sitting in the stability fund, the interest rate it's generating back to the protocol, to the Icon network, which is pretty cool. So like ultimately the balance savings rate, you'll notice proposed inflation to this product is very bare minimal, and it's meant to be that way. It's just a way of creating demand outside of the LPs, because remember, as we expand, all the LPs will be asset, liquid staking asset,
Mm-hmm.
SICX,
Yeah.
BNUSD, liquid staking asset, injective, BNUSD. All this is driving BNUSD demand. The final piece will be this balance savings rate that will always give a user a very safe way to earn yield on their stablecoin.
So it kind of increases the use cases for Balance as a platform to earn revenue, to get involved with real world assets, which is a big narrative, a big play upcoming year, I would assume. Especially now that, by the way, the Bitcoin ETF got approved. I think the
Mm,
real world assets got another like pump in
mm,
relevance. So it allows the platform to kind of design useful products around that,
yeah.
benefiting both the platform and users once again across all these different chains that we're connecting to.
Mm,
So that's an angle that I hadn't thought about, and I would quite frankly enjoy receiving a savings rate. For
yeah.
holding BNUSD, it would increase demand, and in this proposed mechanism, it's the icon inflation that gets tweaked to provide the funds for the savings rate, and in the proposal, it would be 1% of the new inflation that would go towards the
Oh,
savings rate.
yeah.
So for clarity, like over 50% goes to staking and validator rewards. It would be 1% that would be allocated towards this savings rate. And also to clarify, this would go into circulating supply, right? Because this is being
Yeah.
rewarded to holders of BNUSD. Uh, so yeah, that's the proposed balanced savings rate, another mechanism that would help the platform grow, attract new users across different chains, and yeah, offer the more opportunities to create value and eventually bring it back to the ICX holder.
Mm,
Um, right. So that was kind of the last part of this particular episode, Fez. I guess we can wrap it up with a couple of summarizing lines, or just a simple call to actions for listeners to get involved with the chatter. Form your opinion. Can't be wrong. um uh, Learn.
mm,
I've learned a lot already from what other people have been saying, and running some calculations and seeing. I guess my biggest takeaway, or biggest yeah, interesting point is how you can use inflation as an investment vehicle. So if you use it right, it can really yeah, lube your economy. It can really, kickstart or accelerate
Yeah.
your plans. And if your plans are well thought out and solid, then it can be a great asset to have and to use.
Mm,
And I and others understand how there is discussion about what numbers should be, and I guess that's why it's a platform, and it's governed, and people talk about why they think something should be higher or lower.
mm.
uh, and how long for this to kind of float around? What's the perception there?
Uh, so in background conversations, obviously want to move quickly, right? But want to gather enough feedback and make sure everyone's on board. We don't want a divided community, right? Like I
No.
think there's always going to be a bit of here and there, but most of the time, the whole idea around this, David, like there's been this perception of the foundation's trying to get a good deal or completely the opposite. The whole idea about this is people want to see some kind of aggression, right? Like we need to like go all in, and this is kind of almost that all in. Like balance has been around. We know it's profitable. It can be profitable. We know it's had a few hacks come out of the other side, still standing. There's been additional safeguards put in place. So in case people are like, oh, but what if it got hacked? What if this? Well, now there's safeguards and locking mechanisms in place where even at a hack, the damage can be only so much. And this is where, as well, part of these proposals, the emergency fund, which we haven't touched on today, and a few other components come into play. But I just wanted to give that additional context there as well when it comes
Yeah.
to balance. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So I would say go read, just to summarize it, like read the post, open mind, ask questions, give feedback, which is happening. And yeah, sorry to tap off. Like, ideally, I would love for us by the end of January to
Hmm.
whatever we land on. It could be very different to what's been proposed at the moment, but
Yeah.
ideally, by the end of January, let's what we land on have a vote and start moving in the same direction. Like
Hmm.
this shouldn't drag out like to the end of the year or anything. Like I want to move. David, I'm like, go, go, go. Come on, we got to move. We got to move. Let's get moving. But yeah, it's important that everyone's had time to give feedback and have say so that no one feels, uh, you know,
Yeah.
they're being
Yeah.
rolled.
Yeah, and about keeping moving, I think again, if you just go to the icon.community/integrations board and see,
Mm,
the successful mainnet connections that have been achieved over the past 12 months, I think that shows that the moving is happening in successfully and in a good way. And
yeah.
uh, I also want to underline that the last thing you want is a divided community, right? Like
Mm,
you want to take on board what people are thinking and saying. And there's so much like reasonable comments being made. There's people coming in and saying, look, I didn't agree at first, still don't agree 100%, but I think
yeah.
this and this does make sense,
Mm,
and that doesn't. And that just gives like a platform for uh, 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 to kind of pick and choose like what's resonating,
mm,
what can everyone back, what can we pursue, and then ideally yeah, not so that's why I think that's why we're saying to people, come in, voice your opinions, preferably today, so that it can all be taken into account
yeah.
and we can keep moving instead of like lingering and someone disagreeing 2 months from now. It's like
Mm,
now's the moment, right? Now's the moment to come in and talk and chat, and we're doing our best to get it out there. This video
mm,
testament to that.
yeah.
So yeah, very curious where we end up with it, but either way, like lots of like excitement for uh, adding mechanisms to this icon token burn or other ways to bring value to the holders of ICX, because I guess that is what most of the holders would like to see at the end of the day.
Mm,
And I
yeah.
think we're doing a good job this way in pursuing that. So having said that, you got to like and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay in the loop. Please do that if you haven't already. Send it to a friend, spread the word, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Indeed. And Not financial advice. Yeah. Two guys bringing you the latest and telling you what is happening on the icon side of things and how we're progressing. But as always, never financial advice. That's it.
Thank
It
you.
was good to see you, David.
You
Good to
too.
see you.
Do this again soon, yeah?
Yeah. Take care. Bye, everyone.